my website, right here, the free stuff page, so you can browse that, and I'll refer to things as I go. And yeah, we're good. Thank you. And so you can just feel free to browse those things while we're doing this. So, why are we doing this? I think this is like the most crucial thing that there is with teaching with TPRS. I think classroom management is the reason people stop using TPRS because there's a unique challenges to this. I've had all kinds of challenges with this because you give kids freedom to speak and to actually let the real personality out instead of just do the worksheet and just suppress your personality. All hell breaks loose in your class, right? Has anybody been there? Right? Yeah. Yes. That's why we're here. That's why we have to keep doing this. And I've learned lots of little tricks that can help you save you time, save your mental clarity, and give you extra relationship boost with your students and keep things together with this. So I call it classroom management with care and respect. So when you start teaching with TPRS, you can't just tell them to sit down, shut up, do this worksheet, and basically keep your personality on hold. We don't care what you think. We don't care your worldview. We don't care anything about any of you coming out. We just want you to sit down and do what you're supposed to do in that worksheet. It changes everything when you do this. Also, this is your out, right? I'll remind you this at the end. You can do everything right, and still things could go wrong because you're dealing with human beings who have free will, and you're not in control of their home life and things like that. So go easy on yourself. Like you say, I tried this stuff and it still doesn't work. It doesn't always work for everybody all the time. I had one student this year that I just didn't know what to do. I just tried every trick and just it did not work until we just had this really acrimonious relationship and we hated it every time you came to class. So give yourself an out, okay? All right. I think this every year. I think that every single year. Say, oh, this is going to be great. These kids are great. They love me. And they love my class. And this is a different group of kids. These are kids that are fantastic. And then dun dun dun. 2 weeks later, it tricks me. They start with their old tricks, and by that time, it's almost too late to get them back. It happens to me all the time, almost every single year. So don't get fooled, all right? How do you want them to behave after the honeymoon's over? So I'm going to help you with this, okay? I call it the teacher's edge, and there's an acronym with the edge that we're going to use today to help you. All of this stuff, this entire PowerPoint is on my website, free stuff. So if you have a device, you can follow along with that if you like. Write stuff down that you want, but you don't have to write every single thing down. Okay, write the high points to remember this is to help you. But that whole thing is on there. And that will just free up some brain space for you. All right, so here's what it stands for, and we'll go through these. We'll get down to about here, this first session, maybe just the doc on the first session. But then the second session will be this next part. See? Normally this is about a 3-hour presentation. We could switch it to 6 hours, really. But so the first T, what does the first T stand for? Time, right? You got to give yourself some time. You have to make time and take time for your own self. In a TPRS classroom, this is what happens. You're teaching a lot. You're talking a lot. You're interacting with kids a lot. As you walk down the halls, you see your colleague, the social studies teacher, the math teacher. While you're talking, interacting with your students, what are they doing?
Sitting behind their desks and having students work.
Exactly. Right. They're entering stuff in their grade book, they're grading papers, and their students are sitting quietly. And all you do. You're just like, oh, I hate you. And so I have some ways to help you save time. I'm going to save you some time right this second, okay? And one is, here's how to make some time. Let students help you run the classroom. Okay? Here's the two big time savers. One, students can grade papers. They can. In fact, this is a Supreme Court decision. Owasso versus Falvo. This is really interesting. This actually went to the Supreme Court. They said, no, it's an invasion of privacy for students to trade papers and grade each other's papers. And they went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled, no, it is not an invasion of privacy. In fact, we endorse the practice. Most of these Supreme Court justices also teach during the summer when they're not in session. They teach in universities. And they say it's not only a legal practice, not only a good practice, it's recommended that you do this because it reinforces the learning. And they voted 9-0 on this in 2002. When was the last time the Supreme Court voted 9-0? And it never, probably 2002, right? Right? And so it doesn't happen. Students can grade papers on quizzes, especially, just formative assessments, absolutely. You could even argue from this that even on the summative assessments, some aspects of it, the students can grade. Right? Trade your papers, grade them, and turn them. Right? I just saved you how much time? A ton of time. Here's another one. Since it's okay for them to look at each other's papers, they can put papers in order. Here's another way I'll save you some time right this second. Trade your papers with someone right next to you. No, not someone across the room. Someone right next to you. Trade papers, grade papers, and then the room is divided in half. Right? My room, I would make it like real clear where the halfway line was. I love this. You shape thing. This is great in theater stuff. But I would divide the room in half, and I would say, I gotta get names here. I can't do this. Anne and Annie. Okay. All right. So I would get two people that are about the same distance apart, and I would say, after everyone has graded their papers, I'd say, okay, turn in your papers to Anne and Annie. And everyone on this side turns their papers into Annie. Everyone on this side turns their papers into Anne. And then Anne and Annie run to the middle. Whoever passes this line right in the middle, has their toe over the line, wins. The person who does not win puts all the papers in order, in alphabetical order, by last name. So you have, like that, their papers are turned in 2 seconds. I mean, I'm not kidding. And then that, Annie would put all the papers in order, right? Well, we'll move on to the next activity. And some kids, they just go 2 seconds, just 5 seconds to get them done. Some kids, they're like, have to spread them all out. Practice their alphabet, right? But, and it's by last name. Keep telling them that by last name. Then I have this stack of papers that, like at the end of the day, or even between classes, you can just put them in your grade book. Just like that. It takes no time at all. So how many hours a week did I just save you right there? Well, a lot, like 2 or 3 hours at least a week right there, grading papers and put them in your grade books and stuff like that. I mean, this really works. That's completely legal. And I got the students can pay the papers in order from Fred Jones, and this one, and then grade papers from the Supreme Court. Okay? So I helped you a little bit right there. So what that does is gives you a little time to think. This is a quote from Ender's Game, one of my favorite novels of all time, because it treats kids as if they really think and feel. And they're not just Ender's Game. Yeah, the Orson Scott Card is a science fiction novel. And commanders didn't have time to think. Teachers don't have time to think. Our job is to think, right? I mean, that's what we're good at. That's what we're paid for. So you have to take time to think. And if you're just busy, just running all the time, you can't think and plan. And that's your strength. You have to be able to do that. And once you start thinking like this, like what could kids do? Could kids put papers in order? Yes. Could kids grade papers? Yes. Because there are other things kids could do. What are the minimum wage jobs in your room? Are you doing the minimum wage jobs in your room? You know? If there's something that someone who has not graduated from high school could do in your room, should you be doing it all the time? I mean, it's okay for you to do it, but should you be doing it all the time? What are some minimum wage jobs in your room? Let's just brainstorm for a second.
Turn the light on off.
Yeah, turn the light on and off, right, to see the screen. You bet. Pull down the screen.
Handing back papers.
Hand papers back, absolutely. What else?
Sharpen pencils for the free pencil bin.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Free pencil bin, I love that. Yeah, just go get one.
I'm 5'2", so I employ a tall kid to reach things for me.
There you go.
Things on shelves, anything
I
tall.
love that. Yeah, anything above this height.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
great.
giant stuff.
Yeah, there's all kinds of, I'm going to give you some more ideas here. But that's the kind of thing. Once you realize this, the old way of teaching, like, hopelessly out of date. It's like, how could I have functioned without recruiting kids to do all these jobs in the classroom? All right. Let me show you a little bit. Go to my free stuff page if you have a device. And I have a list of classroom jobs that you can do. And there's some of the ones you mentioned, and there's many other ones on there that you can see. Right. Some of the classroom jobs that are described on there that I love. Somebody mentioned turn the light on and off, and opening the door and shutting the door. This one, they said it has to be shut for the AC work, which didn't sound very well.
Geothermal.
Hmm?
The geothermal, otherwise it throws it off.
Okay.
I know.
It's getting hot here already. So
And the windows don't open.
yeah, okay.
Welcome to Nevada.
In our school, we open and shut the doors a lot, and if it's drafty, if it's hot, if it's cold, if it's too loud outside and stuff, I have a person whose job is to open and shut the door, so I don't have to do it. And I pick, who should you pick for that job if you're going to open and shut your door 4 or 5 times every single class period?
That anxious kid.
Yes, yeah. You don't pick the kid that's right by the door. That's too obvious, right? You pick this antsy kid that can't sit still, right? That he's going to be throwing something unless he's jumping up and down. You might as well have him jump up and down to help you, right? Right? Instead of the whole class, and instead of just ruining the class. So I'm saying, open the door, please, shut the door. You don't have to say their name. Just open the door, shut the door, and just sometimes just do it kind of almost for no reason. You just throw it out and get him to move somewhere. So I love that one. Turning on the projector, turn off the projector, putting the screen down, like we said. We open the windows. We have one person that gets to open the windows in our classroom, so you don't get open. We have just all kinds of things. We have someone that straightens up the classroom library. I have a library similar to this on the side here, and have them do that. There's just all kinds of things. One of the favorite ones that kids love to do is I visited Anchorage, Alaska a couple years ago. I was speaking up there at their state conference, and I took time to observe some classrooms. I observed a Japanese classroom, and Betsy Peston, and she has a Keurig coffee maker in her classroom. And I walked in the room, and the kid goes up, "Could I get you some coffee or some tea?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I'll have some coffee." And so we have a kid who is the host of the classroom, and their job is to take care of the physical needs of any visitor, even if it's a new student, if it's a parent that's there, if it's teachers that are observing, if it's an administrator that's coming to evaluate. You think that won't make an impression on them? Right? Kid just jumps up. And then we have another kid who is the interpreter. And their job is to tell them what's going on in the class. They'll say, "Do you speak Spanish?" And they'll say yes or no. And they say, even if they say yes, they say, I'm going to sit by you anyway. And I'm going to tell you what's going on. You will see some strange things that you won't see in any other class. Because we get marked down on our evaluations a lot of times, I think, because administrators don't know what we're doing. They don't speak the language, and they don't understand, especially they don't understand TPRS. And so I used to get marked as, my style was lecture style. I'm like,
Oh my
lecture
God.
style, what the heck? You know, then when you were talking like, well, yeah, but my talk was changed based on them, right? What they're saying. By the way, you're already being too quiet. Speaking of lecture style. I expect you to interrupt me and ask me questions, okay? I'm not gonna wait till the end of the day. Any question, right? If you have a question, ask it right now, because if you have a question, 10 other people have the exact same question right now.
Okay, so did you actually have a student interpret for the administrator that was evaluating you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing that. He just said, open the door and ask his jobs. You know, they'll just tell them all the weird things that's happening. And so they're like, oh, recruiting allowed student participation in the running of the classroom. And they'll write that out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk. But
You are. This is a student volunteer.
We have those same jobs in this classroom, the senora, and I know that like I've been the host or the interpreter, and it like act like they feel involved in the classroom, even though they're really just there to observe. But they actually feel like they're, oh, I know what's happening, and you can see it in their eyes that it makes a difference.
Oh, thank you.
And like if somebody's there to observe a student, like I sometimes have people come in to observe students who are in special education. Would that still be a scenario where you would want
Use
a
your
host?
use your judgment, but
Okay.
if they're there every day, maybe not. They're kind of part of your family, but you know, yeah, use your judgment. Just make them feel at home as much as you can. And I love doing that. You know, we have all kinds of other specialized jobs too that you may have seen on the list. Yes.
How often do you change your jobs?
This is how often you change your jobs. Great. I try to treat it like a real job in the real world. If you like your job, you get to keep your job, usually. Yeah. Unless you get fired. Exactly. And so that's what happens in our classroom. If you want to keep your job, you can keep your job, right? But if you're lousy at your job, you will get fired from your job. And we have another person in the class who is the jefe, or the jefa, right? And their job is to say, you know, they're not doing their job. You know, sorry, you're gone. And some of the bosses are really mean. And there's like one screw up and they're out, you know. And other ones they go, give them a chance. Everyone's yelling. They're lousy. They never turn on the light. They never turn on. And you know, and they said, just give them a chance. You know, so it's like real bosses in real life. So I let them determine that. It's like I'm not going to be. It's like too much of trouble. Some teachers can do that. I cannot do that. I can't keep track of. Okay, we're changing these jobs every 3.5 weeks, and we have to, you know, I mean, have some big giant matrix. So
So do you assign these the first week, first day, as you go?
I do them gradually, kind of as they come up, and I just say, we need somebody to turn on the light. And I notice this kid's really squirrely. And I say, you know, would you be the guy that opens the door and shuts the door? Abre la puerta. Abre la puerta. That's you, okay? La puerta. That means you're going to open or shut that door whenever I ask for it. And so I kind of have some people that are, you can just tell just looking at people, kind of how they're reacting. Like who's like some kid that's really bright, really attentive. Oh, they're going to be the interpreter, or you'll ask them to be the interpreter. Some other kid that just seems friendly. They have a lot of friends and stuff. They're really maybe good for the host position. You can kind of tell. So, would you mind doing this? But I sometimes would say, we need somebody to open the window. We need somebody to write the quizzes. You get 100% of the quiz if you write the quiz. You know, it's like, and it works just like a charm. It seems like the only possible way to run a classroom once you start doing this, because you're free. All of a sudden, you're free to start thinking to do only the job that somebody with a college degree can do in your classroom. That's you, right? All these other things kids can do, and the kids should do. Well, I went to high school in Chile, and part of our deal was we were in charge of the room. We had to clean the room. There was no janitors that cleaned it. We cleaned the room. And even like the chalkboards got old, our job was to get the paint, this chalkboard paint, and repaint the chalkboards. And, you know, we did everything in that room. You know, it was our room. And so part of this idea comes from that.
Does everyone in your classroom have a job, or it's just kind of like pick and choose as you go?
Pretty much everybody has a job and wants a job. Just like real life, you know?
Yes.
If you want a job, you can get some kind of job, right?
Yes.
You know? And this is another one for taking time. So the first one is take time for yourself. This is take time for your students. I've noticed as I travel, if you ever get a chance, go to a Marriott hotel. Even if you're not staying there, just go in there. They're trained like crazy to do this. They have this 15-5 rule. And 15 feet away, you just notice them. Just like list your eyebrows or look at them, nod your head, something like that. When you're 5 feet away, you engage them verbally. You say, you look in the eye and make something say, how do you do? How you doing? How's your stay? Just something. You just say something like that. And I've tried this out at these Marriott. I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee last year at a Marriott. And I got up early in the morning and I was sitting in the lobby. And it was like 5 in the morning. And I could not work. I could not study because people just, good morning, sir. How are you, sir? You enjoying your stay, sir? How are you? You know, just constantly they do this like crazy. If they can train the people that carry luggage, right, and the housekeeping people to do this 15-5, can we learn how to do this? Can teachers learn how to do this in our job as people anyway? Of course we can learn how to do this. And if you walk down the hall, do this. Do this with students. My wife is here today also. She works for an orthodontist. And she had a student from my school come in. And she found out she was from my school. She goes, oh, Mr. Hedstrom. She goes, I love him. He's my favorite teacher. And she comes home and she tells me her name. And I'm like, when did she go to our school? I'm like, and she was like, she graduated just like 2 years ago. I'm like, I should remember a kid from 2 years ago. Maybe not 10 years ago, but I could remember a kid from. I'm like, what's her name? Are you sure? And come to find out, she never had me in her class. Because I do this 15-5 thing as I walk down the hall. All right? And a lot of times I just raise my eyebrows at kids. But all the time, we're flooded with kids. You just go like that. All right? I mean, it doesn't take much, you know, just a little. And she swore. She said, he stopped and talked to me and asked me how I was doing, said hello to me every single day I was in school. She said, no other teacher did that. And I did not even know her name. And because I just went, hey, you know, just every, you know, I happened to be in the hallway. Hey, how's it going? You know, I didn't have to say anything. I just made some kind of contact with it. It's practice. Just turn to each other and look at each other and give each other an eyebrow lift. See how you feel. See what feels to you and to them.
Only one for you. Ours were the same, ours are along the same line.
Just one second. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, that's all you gotta do, you know? It takes no effort on your part at all, you know? Just put some more extra cream on your forehead.
Unless they have their space and their phones and their texting and you walk by. It's like, hey.
Yeah.
You just put your hand in it.
Yeah.
Exactly. What was your question?
Well, it wasn't a question. I was just going to say along the same lines. Every day when I start my class, I, buenos dias, ¿cómo están? And so I ask them, and if they don't respond to me, I usually will seek, out students. And I had kids tell me, you're the only teacher that asks us how we are. I'm like, oh, all right. Like they liked that. They thought that was good.
Absolutely. That's that personal contact that we can make as foreign language teachers that's going to start pulling out kids' personalities. For good or bad. That's why we need this classroom management stuff, because their personalities start coming out, right? It's not always good. But, we can't ignore students, even if they're not our students. We can't ignore them. We have to engage them. So do the 15-5, all right? Okay. Another way to take time for time is to model reading by reading. not putting in grades. That shows that reading is not important. I sit in front and I read. And I read stuff in Spanish. And you know, sometimes we'll read out loud, sometimes we'll do kindergarten reading, we'll do all kinds of reading, but I just say read. We'll be talking about reading this afternoon too, about free voluntary reading and stuff like that. But this is the main thing right here. Just sit and read in front of me. Saves my voice, saves my back, saves my sanity, right? And it works like a charm. Do you have a question?
Do you have a time each week that you leave for free reading?
Yes, yeah. Depends on the level and how much they can handle. But even in Spanish 1, we start really early, like just 5 minutes at a time, 3 times a week. So to get them used to it. In fact, I suggest you start it in the first week of school, believe it or not, with free reading. I'll show you some resources for that. Yes?
Obviously, you don't want to force reading, but what do you do with that kid who is obviously not reading at all?
I kind of let them fake it. You know, that's them there for reading reactions sometimes, and that's I let them do that. The reason I let them fake it, there's a study that Susan Grosso used to cite, and I need to get the specific thing. She'd heard about this school in Louisiana that had horrible outcomes for their students. And she went down to observe the amazing improvement that this school had had. The teacher, what she had done, she had gotten these old magazine racks, and she got a whole bunch of old French magazines. And she just put them on the racks, and every day the kids had 10 minutes of free reading time with magazines, old magazines. That was all she did. And their scores started to climb and climb, and they were some of the best in the whole state of Louisiana for a while. And when Susan, what her story was, that when she went down and observed them, it looked for all the world like some of the kids were just going like this. Just flipping through. Just like, and like she said, a lot of the kids looked like they weren't even reading. And they weren't taking notes on how many new words they saw in the text or just all these things. They were just flipping through. And their scores started going up and up and up over the years. And it was mainly due to that. That was the conclusion they came to. So if kids don't want to read, they got to read, right? You have to read. I'm reading. You gotta read. No, you can't go to the bathroom. No, you can't throw a paper away. No, you can't sharpen your pencil. No, you can't even go get a new book. Because I'm on to you, and I'll explain that later in my next session. But read. Take care of yourself by reading. You can get a lot of good books that you can read in the target language to improve your language skills. And then leave. Go exercise. Go read. Go spend time with your friends, your family.
What?
Yeah, right, exactly. That is not our culture as teachers, and it's unhealthy. You know, so we have this dysfunctional teacher culture that we can't have any outside interests, we can't have any friends, we can't have a life because we're just slaving away for our students. That's not healthy, that's not good. And some of these things can help you a lot. All right. I'm going to stop right there for a second. All right. My short-term memory is really bad, and so is my short-term memory. So, turn to a group of 3 people. We did it with one other person before. Find a group of 3 people, turn and go through what are the top points in making time, the takeaways that you think you may be able to pull off from this in your classroom. Or any other ideas that came to your mind as you were going through. Okay? Take like 4 minutes to do that. They moved right away. Oh, you see, Senora's
That's true. Unless they have unless they're on documentation.
I don't know what it is right now. I couldn't even find it. Mine's an older one. And they I think it's good. Yeah. And I like to do something because I know because every time someone tells me something. So it's something I quit. It's something that I think is going to be on the job. I'm probably going to get it back to you. Oh, you're going to get it. So that, we always go over it. So it's like, I need to do somewhere.
Woo! Whoa. Thank you. Man, good catch. Okay, this is not going to work. This was leaning against. Never mind. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, it's so smart. Yeah. I've done like some really popular.
Yeah, I know. It did. It found me in the corner. You're right.
You can do that all the time.
Okay, 1 minute. We're going to figure out some ideas.
Or maybe a
It's hard for me to stand there for 4 minutes because like I'm trying to get ready for my next group. So if I have a student do it, I like to just say every student and so then we give that cloud.
what saves me, and I know some people don't say this, but I do it every day. That's my moment.
Okay, if we could come back and I'd like to hear from some different groups. What did you come up with? What are some things either that you think you might be able to pull off from this, or what idea springboarded from this? You can say, oh, I could adapt this. I could do something different, or I do something different. Somebody have an idea you found? Yes.
We're kind of talking about the 15-5 rule, and we greet students at the door and shake each one of their hands.
Yes.
Which then kind of, if you're not shaking their hand, it can kind of sneak in the classroom, and then you don't get that connection. So you could go a whole week without really talking to a student.
Exactly.
But then if you're shaking their hand or you're greeting them at the door, you have that connection at least every single day. You can kind of see, oh, they're having a bad day. That's not how they are usually. So that's one thing we do here in Nevada.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. A spring off of that if we get to it, and it'll be like down here on the second session, we talked about passwords. Just a little preview. We do passwords now at our school, and I've done it for the last 2 years. I have a book that Teacher Discovery is printing this summer on it. That it works like a dream. I always greeted kids, but now to get in the class, they have to have a password, and it changes every week. And the kids have to say it to get into the classroom. And that's the same kind of thing to make contact with each kid. That's just kind of a formalized way of doing it.
So do you have a password, someone at the door, not you, that is asking for the password? Is that a job? It's always you.
It's usually me, but I do have a designated person, like if I need to go run down, make copies, go to the restroom, talk to somebody, something like that. Then their job is to be the password person. And it's funny, teachers say, I don't go into it too much, but teachers say, yeah, we have a greeter too, that's what they call it. And some people say that they have a bouncer. So I guess what's that? Small town, big city, or whatever. I think it was kind of funny. A bouncer, you're not getting in. But anyway, the password thing works great. Yeah.
I have to say, I stole that idea from your website, probably a year ago, and started that, and I love it. I love that idea. I usually give them a word that we haven't had yet, like puedo, or tango, or some good word that they need, and so I wanted to thank you for that, because it really does help. They remember that from and sometimes if they forget, they'll say, well, I don't know how to say I can. I'm like, don't you remember it was the password? Oh, yeah, and then they remember.
Yeah, it
So
just keeps
I
coming
really
up.
loved that off of
Oh,
your
I'm so
page.
glad it helped you, yeah. They do remember it. The last week of school, I said, just say your favorite password from this year. And they remember, like, from the very first day of school, what the password was. It's just amazing. There's like, how many? 30, 35 passwords?
That's how I work things in. So I started doing them this year. So if there's things that they are just constantly talking about, like pop culture things, we can usually work those into a password so we're not doing English. So like in the fall, when all they would talk about is Harambe being dead, our password was Harambe is dead. And that's a really great, like, which is really morbid. But high school boys love it, getting to say that every single day. And then since I got into it, it became less cool, so then I didn't have to hear it all the time. That's usually my strategy. If I do it enough, it's not cool, and then they don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's how to get it. Quit doing it.
But yeah, it's been a nice way to work those things in that they're gonna say 100 times a day anyway. So let's just stick in Spanish, I guess.
Do you just write the password on the board and then they come in the next week put in?
Yeah, I have them laminated and then I just magnet it to my whiteboard, and then after that week I hang it on one of my walls. So there's a wall of passwords. So that way if they're writing and they're just like needing inspiration, they can look back at the wall.
Excellent.
So I keep them up.
That's great. On my free stuff page, I have a thing about the passwords, and then I also have on my blog, just type in the category passwords, and it's always Notepad. Great. Anything else from the discussions before we move on? What do you think? Give me an idea. As soon as you think of something, blurt it out, okay? You're supposed to. Yes.
Okay, the kind of things that the kids grade, are they usually, like English, like Spanish English, so there's no, like, half points, well, you kind of got it, I mean, you know, that's what I'm asking, is what kind of things do you have students grade? Because I like to have the control. Half points or whatever like that.
No, that's a legit question. Usually we'll do like questions about a story or something. One kid write 20 questions about the story. And they give me questions I said in the story. And then I'll take those and I'll just do 10 of the best questions. And then they'll just do like kind of informational answers about the story.
In Spanish.
In Spanish, yeah. That's the main way we do it. You can do translation, but it doesn't do that very often. It's just, did you get the gist of the story of what was happening?
Okay.
And so we'll do a lot. That's the main thing we do. And so it's pretty straightforward. And if it's slight spelling error, miss an accent, it counts. Because it's mainly the information that I want.
How long are your class?
51 minutes. We meet every day. Just traditional, boring, everything's good.
10 more minutes than we get. I love that.
Yeah. It's probably good for learning language, but it gets boring after a while.
There's never enough time.
Yeah, there never is. I notice you guys are in the blocks too. I like that. Or teachers.
Another question related to that. How do you manage, like, a lot of the times when they choose to student next to them, they will give themselves or tell them, can you be great with a friend, and how do you
Well, you can't be a pushover, And if people treat you right, then you treat them right back. But if they treat you wrong, then you nail them right away. It's like, so you say, I'll spot check some of these if I suspect there may be some errors, and I'll be looking right at one of these kids. And I will, because you know who you can trust and who you can't. And they'll say, I'm supposed to get 9 out of 10, I only get 2 out of 10. That's because those were all wrong. For some reason, someone wrote them right. And it doesn't take long to do that. It doesn't take long to train them that, I get it. If I treat Senor right, he treats me really well back. But if I treat him wrong, then there's a consequence, and he actually notices. He's just not nice all the time. So that there are some kids that will absolutely push it, of course. So, yes.
I've done it before, and they have to use a red pen, kind of the name at the bottom. And then I always tell them when I look these over, if you miss a bunch on your friend's paper, and you take the number that you missed on your paper and subtract it from your score.
Yeah.
I'm really mean.
That's good. Yeah, let's take it to the next level. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't like us, and they don't like us.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to have them write their name, because I have a few kids, you don't want to, exclude them from correcting papers, but they cannot do it. They're not capable of following that level of instruction, going from whatever answers you've given to what's on your paper. It's not that they're cheating,
No,
they
I
just can't, and you have to track that paper down,
yeah.
make sure it's been corrected well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's true. Good. Good.
I do have a question about one
Yes.
of the jobs. What is the scapegoat? I've been wondering.
Oh, that's a really fun one. We're going to talk about jobs a little bit more in depth in the next section, but the scapegoat is just kind of a fun kind of job. Then you have to have the right vibe going in your class, and you have to work the right kid. But some kids really, really like it. Anything goes wrong in class, you blame the scapegoat for it. It's like, thanks a lot, so-and-so, and they will either say, no tengo la culpa, it's not my fault, or they'll say, or they'll ham it up in some other way, and they'll be like the villain, like be all mad at everybody and defiant, or they'll say, it's not my fault, I didn't do it, and make all these excuses. It's just a fun thing to do. And so, because stuff screws up, or when I screw up, I like for that right there, I wouldn't blame the scapegoat on that. Thanks a lot, for putting that there, and it's just a fun, light, humorous way, if you can get away with it, And but I've had it backfire. You get a really sensitive kid that I thought can handle it with the scapegoat, and they're crying, he blames you for everything. Your parents call you. It's a joke. It's just a joke. It's just for fun. Yeah. We thought everybody got that, but it's just a comic relief. All right. So the T was time, make time. The H. What does H stand for? Help. Help. Right. Get help. So you need to get help with classroom jobs, we've mentioned, and from parents to keep control of your classroom. So we talked about the jobs, and what can can't ask this too much. What can students do to help run their classroom, and what can only you do? There's some things that only you can do. You got to save your brain power for planning and organizing things and orchestrating how this class works, not the simple stuff. I can't say that enough, okay? So, you can ask for help. We're not going to show this, but this is asking for help is an act of hope, actually. And too many of us teachers, we think we're supposed to be this expert. We can handle this. We're locked in our classroom. We're supposed to be in charge of everything, and we can't. You can ask for help. You can ask your colleagues for ideas. You can ask your administrators. You can ask for people online. Asking for help is it's hope when you're in deep trouble. And so don't neglect to ask for help from teachers. Oh, I'm rushing this a little bit, but I want to get through. I never ever get through this presentation. So this is one of my best ideas right here. Super points and think sheets. Okay. This is catch them being good. This is for super points, and catch them before they get bad with the think sheets. There's examples of those on my website. You can download them free. So the super points, we call them super puntos. And this is such a great idea. I got it from somebody, or it's a combination of ideas from somebody, but it just works like a dream. All right, super points is anything that impresses you in class. It can be literally anything that you find out. Someone's extra nice to someone. Someone just says something brilliant, makes a great comment, really funny, or they're just super Spanish answer, Or someone, you just heard that someone did something nice. Kid came late to class one time, and he's saying like in broken, level 1 Spanish, He said, "Hay un perro en la calle, un perro pequeño," And it's like he saved this little puppy from the street that was walking around, and he found it where it lived and took it back. That was his story anyway. We believed him. So it was a super punto. And so I give him a super punto for that. But it's literally anything. And what you do, 5 super puntos. I have them write in their composition book the date and the sign. They get a call home from the teacher. Now usually call home from the teacher is not good. Have you seen the Taylor Molly video about what a teacher makes? It's old for a while, but it's been around for 10 years probably. Boy, is it good. Look for that on YouTube. Taylor Molly. And that's part of this is where it comes from. Where it's like he said the teacher calls home during dinner time. "Hello, hope this is Mr. So-and-so from school. Hope I'm not interrupting anything." And then he goes on to say how great this kid was, how this kid stood up for another kid who was being bullied in the class. The kid was something they were making fun of him, stood up and "Why don't you stop it?" And it's so touching. That's the kind of thing. I call home, and it has to be true, but they can tell me what to say. But are you singing?
Yeah.
You're going to be singing. Well, think back. Probably you have no issues now with your parents, right? But think back. Could you have used this a couple years ago? Right? I tell me what you want to say to your parents. Tell me what time to call, on what day, and who to say it to. Could this be valuable to a student? Yeah. Yeah, they want to spend the night at Friends Dance, they want to go to a concert, they want to do something, there's all kinds of things. And they may be slightly in trouble, But then I call in. You get to use your position, your standing in the community. We still have some respect, even though teachers are becoming scapegoats in a lot of ways. But we can't act like that all the time, or we will always be scapegoats for the community, right? If we do this, you can use the inherent respect and authority that a teacher's position gives for good, right? You can say, "Your kid, this is what your kid did in my class," and just list up all those, maybe the things that you did for the super puntos, or you just say what a great kid you think they are, and you say, "I just want to let you know, there's no problem. They didn't do anything." I'm like, "No, I just want to let you know. Thanks for raising such a good kid." And you think that's not going to help them?
Yeah, as a parent, you'd be like, "Whoa," and very proud.
Especially secondary, I feel like a lot of times that connection, like parents don't come to conferences, parents,
Right.
lose that connection.
Exactly, yeah. This works like a dream. And so I hand out super puntos like candy at the beginning of the semester.
You have little tickets or something?
No, I just write it in they have a composition book that they have for my class. And so I just write on the inside cover the date and my initials. And they get 5, and they go, "I got 5, senor." I go, "Okay. Tell me what number to call, what to say, who to say it to, what day, everything. You write it out, and I'll just read it."
How many calls home on average do you make in a school year?
Not too many. You would think it'd be overwhelming, but those make such an impact on kids, and especially kids that are kind of ornery. They try to get super puntos because they need all the help they can get from their parents, right? And so they really work out. And so I probably do 10 to 15 a whole year. But those make an impact and word gets around. And it really, really makes an impact. So this is catching them when they're being good, which is what you want. So anything at all that impresses you, it doesn't have to be in the class. All right, the other, the think sheets, I guess I don't have that described that here, do I? Okay. Think sheets are catch them before they get bad. Think sheets are for minor classroom interruptions. Just little tiny things. And just it's a small little thing, and I just have them over there, and I say, would you just go get the thing sheet, please, thanks. And that's all I do. You know, I don't argue with them. I don't justify it. I say, well, we're waiting for you to get your thing sheet. You know, we just go get your thing sheet. I train them the first day or two of class to how to go get them, what they are, where they're at. And those aren't used that often either, but they're just for minor things. And it's just like a little minor thing that keeps kids in line for little things. I used to work with the Tulsa Juvenile Bureau in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with juvenile delinquent kids. And the idea is to get the little things before they get big. And so I don't even smoke, but I would come to work with cigarettes rolled up in my sleeve. And we'd be playing pool with the kids, and I'd undo some, and I'd just say, this spot. And I'd set them on the mantle, and we'd be playing pool. And then I would leave the room, but there'd be a mirror where I could see it. And some kid would always come up and take the cigarettes. And then we'd say, okay, you got my cigarettes. He's like, oh, God. And you make this big deal like they're like this, most wanted criminal in the world, because they got my cigarettes. And it really, really helped to keep drugs and, violent, knives and stuff out of there, but making a big deal of cigarettes. This is taking this to a smaller level. Like you're not paying attention in class, you don't have your materials with you. Whenever you make it whenever you want, go get a thing sheet, please, thanks. What it does too, if there's an ornery kid, it starts building up. And then after a while, you have in the kid's own handwriting 5 times, 5 different days, what he's been doing. And then you can call home or, write an email, or you have some kind of thing. He's signing his own death warrant, by writing all these things out. So take a look at those. Those help. Those are like minor things you can do to head off problems.
So you have the template on your...
Yes.
Oh, great.
What are minor distractions, I guess?
Speaking English, not paying attention, not being prepared for class, not getting in your group, not working in your group if you're doing something like that. Could be even not reading if you want to make that. Just little things like that. Just tiny things. Before it gets real disruptive. Because it's the little tiny things that drive you crazy. And it's the small infractions that's 95% of the problem in the classroom. It's the little tiny things that just drive you insane, and it just constantly happen. And if you can lessen those, then you have more time to teach. So
do you model for them first how to fill it out and
yes,
the first few days and
yeah, absolutely. And I will show them how to do it. Great point. Okay, I should mention this. I model how not to do it. I always model negative behavior. I never have a student model negative behavior the first week or 2 of class when we're establishing this routine. I model, I'll say, okay, you as a teacher, you tell me you're going to get a thing sheet. And I'm like, why do I need one? And you say, go get one. And it's like, whatever. He was doing the same thing. He was just trying to argue with him. I model bad stuff. I get it. Just write my name and say, I don't know. Here. No, that's not right. And have the kid be the model the good stuff. And then later, I say, okay, show me how you go get a thing sheet. We're practicing this. And they just go get it and come back. Fill it out. You can take it to, if you're teaching middle school, you can even take it to a higher level. You can have them go, I have them actually stay in the back of the room to develop the thing sheet to kind of slightly alienate them from the class. Middle school works best if you'll have them go out to another teacher's room across the hall, because it totally takes them away from their audience. Or even 9th graders, they work well with them too, if you can make an agreement with another teacher. Because that takes them away from the social group with which they're trying to get standing by acting out. And this works really, really, really well. But yeah, you model the bad stuff, and kids model good stuff. Yeah, really, no, oh my God. Yeah.
Burst her bubble.
Yeah. Okay, so we can get help. The next one, the E, what's the best thing I can do for the E? It's every day. Every class, every day. You have to be consistent, and you have to have procedures. We'll press lever for food. What's this? Right. We're going to B.F. Skinner, right? Operant conditioning. This is how you create a monster that will never, ever, ever give up. Is random reinforcement. If that rat gets a pellet of food every single time it presses the lever, pretty soon pressing the lever won't be any fun. If the rat never gets a pellet of food every time whenever they press the lever, they'll quit pressing the lever after a while. Pressing the lever is kids acting up. Okay? Getting the pellet is getting the attention in class. This is the way to create a monster that will never, ever, ever give up the rest of their life. Is you get that rat and you randomly, sometimes they press it once and they get a pellet, sometimes they press it 3 times they get a pellet, sometimes they press it 72 times and they get a pellet. They will sit there all day long and press that thing. It's just fascinating to them. It's pressing. They will never stop. They're not even hungry. They'll just press and press until all the skin is worn off their hand. Your students will do the exact same thing. I saw this right in front of me, Colorado, middle of the Colorado winter. I bet Iowa winters are very similar, okay?
No, you can.
What?
Those are way worse. You don't know winter.
I bet, yeah, okay. Ours are actually, we like to keep it quiet. Colorado winter, what are kids wearing when it's
Shorts.
Yeah, when it's 0 degrees, it's snowing, and the wind is blowing. They're wearing a t-shirt and shorts, right? And they do that here? Your kids are, I thought your kids would be a little smarter than ours. But,
shorts.
Yeah, shorts and t-shirt. So my room is right at the end of a hallway with a door, and it's an exit-only door for security reasons for our school, right? And the kids are out there freezing, and they're pounding on the door. And I'm like, I'm sorry, because I'm standing there, and I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I can't get it around. And so if I do that every day, they quit pounding on the door after a while, right? They just go around. But we had a principal who was on his way out. What? 1 minute? Ah! Okay, real fast. We had a principal who was on his way out, wanted to be Mr. Nice Guy. So he would come down, kids would be pounding on the door, and he'd go, come on, let's go. And so what happened the whole rest of the winter? Zombies outside my door. They would never quit pounding on the door. They'd be there all day. I said, go around and just pounding. They would not quit. If we're not consistent, this is what we make monsters. If we enforce our rules sometimes when we're feeling strong and good and healthy and happy, then in the other times when we're tired, and it's just the cutest, nicest, friendliest kid you know, and you just go, okay, go ahead, let them get away with something. You assure that the rest of the kids in the class will never, ever stop acting up the rest of the year. Like, it's kind of scary, really. You gotta be consistent or you're not, so. Wow. We only have an hour? Great, 22.
Yeah. Is it just an hour?
Okay. Okay. So we have, wow. All right, well,
Well, then that's part 2.
So part 2.
Yeah, we get a 2-minute break.
Okay.
I think that's all you're doing.
All right, well, let's take a break and come back for another hour and we'll be done with this.